The main thing I can share is it's a very simple approach. You can call it a mental model if you want. It is two questions I ask usually, which is what do I actually want and why do I really want it? As simple as that. What do I actually want and why do I really want it? When we think about life choices in this manner, I have found it has created a lot more clarity for me. Earlier on in my 20s or even in my early 30s, I did not really ask these questions. Most people, and certainly I was one of them, they see something and they say, I want that. And then the next question is, how do I get it? So for most people, the order is, I want that, and how do I get it? That's our default programming. So even though this sounds very simple, it sounds almost so simple that, come on, it cannot be true. It cannot be useful. But I have found it to be very useful. I still get that instinct of, I want that. But the only thing I do now is before I ask, how do I get it? I ask, what do I actually want? And whatever it is, why do I really want it? And as I say in this tweet, first seeking the true answers. And then the second thing is accepting the answer. Sometimes we don't accept the answer we have. And a lot of times we don't accept it because the ego comes in the way. Because the real answer to most situations where you ask this question is, I really want it because ego. Now, obviously, there are hundreds, thousands, perhaps variants. But they all go back to, I want it because ego. And I'm not saying don't pursue anything because ego. There are actually things that we can and should pursue because ego, but don't pursue everything because ego, right? So just be mindful of that. Now, ego manifests in different ways. One way is people will think I'm smart. People will think I'm successful. People will think I'm charismatic. People will think I am beautiful. People will think I'm wealthy. Those are different variants. But notice most people don't even get to that. That's why this seeking the true answers is half the battle is a very important sentence. Because most people don't even get to the, oh, I'm trying to do this because I want people to think I am successful. They come up with more rational sounding answers that are good stories in their head. Everything I say, I've done many times. The only reason I can say it is because I've just experienced it in myself. And then I've tried to figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing. So this was a long time ago. I used to drive really bad cars. Okay. Like really horrible, just bad condition, etc. I mean, they were safe enough, but that was it, right? The brands were not very good. This was when I was an international student here in the US, had barely any money. I graduated in 2001. The economy was really bad. My salary was horrible. My first salary was $36,000 for a software engineering role for somebody who has a master's degree in computer science. Now, the fair starting salary for 2001 was $70,000 at the time for somebody with those qualifications. I did not have much money and I was sending money home because my family needed help. But at some point, 2-3 years in, I started making the median software engineer wage, which again, whatever it was, $70, $75, $80,000 at the time. I was making that wage. I could afford a better car, but I did not buy it. Now, why is that, right? The reason was that I wanted my next car to be really awesome. The story I told myself is, I'm driving shitty Nissan Sentra because I'm just going to buy a really great car. I still love driving and I used to pride myself in my driving skills, whatever. These are all like stupid somebody in their 20s stories that I told myself. So at some point, by now I was at Google, I think it was 2009 or so. For the first 8 years of my career, money was a big constraint. Money was no longer a constraint. So what do? I go out and buy a Porsche 911. And I love it, right? Like I love driving. I love just the experience of driving that amazing car. I love all the handling and various other things, all the features, etc., etc. And my son was like 2 years old at the time. So I would drive him. He would have fun. He'd be like, Daddy, go faster, whatever. It was really fun. Great memories. All of that said. At some point, I got over all the rational reasons why I had the car. Oh, it's so fun and blah, blah, blah. 50 reasons I had. And I appreciate engineering, like whatever. I got over all of that. And I was like, what is the real reason why I have this car? At some point, I realized this was a journey, by the way. This was not like one aha moment. But at some point, I realized that I'm just doing this because I want to prove to myself and prove to others that I'm somehow more successful than the median person. This is a very hard truth to accept. It's very hard, but that was the truth. That was the truth. And I still remember, I think a couple of times I posted going out with my kid and he loves the speed and whatever, some shit like that. And then afterwards I realized, oh, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? That's when I realized, like, this is why I'm doing this, right? Now, did the car make me happy? I mean, maybe, right? It brought joy for sure. But what made me more happy is actually the journey, not the journey in the car, but the journey of going through this realization of why I was doing what I was doing. I'm just using one example, but this applies to many, many things we do and many life choices we make. The last thing I'll say on this topic is more recently, I've added a third question to this. So remember, the two questions are, what do I actually want? Why do I really want it? The third question I've added is, will it make me happy? The answer sometimes is yes. But most of the time, when I have this instinct of, I want that, or I want to do that, right? And I go through this process, the eventual answer to, will it make me happy, is not really. And so then I don't do it. I'm in this kind of journey at this point of subtraction instead of addition, where I subtract a lot of things and I don't want to add more new things. So those are a couple of ways to perhaps think about it along with a concrete example.